There's a quote at the end of Wreck-It Ralph that stuck with me since I saw it back in 2012. Ralph says, "It turns out I don't need
a medal to tell me I'm a good guy. Because if that little kid likes me, how bad can I be?"
That little kid he was referring to was Vanellope, not me. I was an adult when I saw the film, but I vividly remember that night, the theater that I went to, who I was with, and what it felt like to watch it. It was like a wave of emotional therapy coming over me. Something similar happened when I watched 2022's Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I heard the monologue about laundry and taxes, something I want to touch on in a bit. But that quote from Wreck-It Ralph had me thinking for quite a while. I had spent a majority of my younger years trying to impress people. To give you a peek into my own life, I've never really been comfortable in my own skin. I've always felt like I needed to portray a version of myself to people to be liked. Someone who was financially successful, or somebody who was cool, or somebody that felt like they had it all together. Someone that my parents wanted to be proud of because I became who they wanted me to be, or somebody that my friends really wanted to invite to places, and that I was worth calling and making that invite for. There are very few people who have seen every side of me, and that's not because I'm introverted or because I'm shy. In fact, I would say I'm much more the opposite. But it's because I don't want to be openly vulnerable, because my biggest fear is disappointing people. In fact, there was a video I made for this channel previously that I put off and struggled to even create because of those fears. It's a video where strangely we discussed the death of family films, while I confronted a past version of myself who wears a denim jacket and sunglasses indoors because he thinks he's cool.
For the record, I am actually pretty cool.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be going to therapy today?
Why, was I supposed to?
So you're just gonna blow that off? What are you gonna do instead?
Yeah, I'm gonna head out and grab a drink with Jack. I also signed up for like a dating app, so I'll probably be scrolling on that for a while. Wish me luck. Whatever.
So he traveled from the past in order to date somebody in the present. I'm sure that's not gonna mess with any kind of reality, but that's not my problem right now. But regardless of whatever version of me that is, or regardless of how afraid I was, I still made that video. It felt relieving to make that video, a cathartic sense similar to the one that I had had when I first watched Wreck-It Ralph back in 2012. Films provide a sense of understanding and empathy because the movies that connect with us the most are the ones where we see ourselves on screen. It's almost easier to relate to fictional characters than the person in the mirror because there's so much baggage connected to who we see in that mirror, but we don't bring that same bias to the movies. There's a phrase for this. It's called cinema therapy. I've gone through it countless of times. Sometimes I walk into a movie theater knowing, or sometimes not, what kind of emotions I'm going to feel. Strong emotions that become core memories.
I don't want to get too technical, but these are called core memories.
There's a lot to talk about here, so without further ado, my name's Josh Taylor, this is Modern Mouse, and today we're talking about why movies feel therapeutic, why so many people use cinema therapy, and why connections through art, like the one that I had with Wreck-It Ralph, are so important.
If I'm really honest with myself, sometimes I think, man, sure must be nice being the good guy.
Cinema therapy is defined as a form of expressive therapy, something that's existed for centuries dating back to the ancient Greeks. They believed that live theater was cathartic and a way for people to let loose and purge their emotions. Throughout history, we've connected therapy to varying forms of art: live theater, painting, reading, music, movies. This isn't some sort of practice from a new wave religion or something only weirdos do. My apologies to those of you in cults, but cinema therapy has been prescribed as something to treat people with addictions or problems with abuse. Even without a visit to a doctor or a therapist, expressive therapy, in particular cinema therapy as we're talking about it, is something that we all probably go through even without knowing it. I did this when my grandmother passed away. My parents and I sat down and watched the brand new Pixar film of that year, Soul. My mom and I ended up fully connecting with the film and shed tears throughout it. This can also be said for Coco. Maybe my mom and I are just big criers, but I think those films, their thoughts about the meaning of life and death, connected with us after losing somebody that we had been tied to. Listen, it did not solve our complicated feelings around death, but it was a way to express our emotions without having to say anything out loud. Classes for alcoholism and drunk driving use a film like Flight, a Denzel Washington movie about an airplane pilot with a drinking problem, as a way to show people that alcohol consumption doesn't just impact them, but those around them. A movie like Eat, Pray, Love might resonate with some who leave a relationship and are struggling to start over in life. Seeing how successful Julia Roberts is on her journey alone can be a reflection that they need to understand that moving on is okay. A movie like that shows a path forward after a struggle.
So what you're saying is therapy is a scam and people should just watch Toy Story 3 instead.
No, this isn't a one-and-done situation, Joe. If you need to go to therapy, you should still go to therapy. This is more like using a tool in a toolbox. But nothing's going to replace an intricate and deeply personal conversation.
So it's like an emotional tool.
Sure, like a melodramatic screwdriver.
Yeah, or like a comforting hammer.
I mean, speaking of which, Joe, indulge me. What's a movie that you've turned to?
Oh man, an absolute favorite of mine is The Fantastic Mr. Fox. So my youngest brother, I knew when he got older he'd be in Wes Anderson movies, and I was right, but at the time, they were too old for him. And then along comes Fantastic Mr. Fox. So I could take him to this thing. I knew he was going to love the humor and the banter, and it was perfect. He loved it, had such a good time watching it. And over the years, I've been able to introduce it to my kids, and so my oldest loved it growing up, and my little guy loves it right now. So it's a movie that's really fun to come back to. It's like this comfy sweater of connection to my family, so love that one.
In a piece that was written for the Washington Post, therapist Elizabeth Lamott ended up talking about one of her patients that experienced loneliness thanks to a lifetime of being single. Her patient cited the film Punch Drunk Love as a movie that helped her see romance that made sense to her, and helped her in finding romantic partners and taking care of herself both mentally and physically. Through her own practice of using cinema therapy for her clients, she states that it gives permission for a client to organically pick and choose what pieces of the puzzle he or she feels ready to change. When a character in a film reflects a patient's flaws, it can help the patient absorb their role in his or her conflicts. These types of conflicts within ourselves and our emotions that are connected to them brings me back to Wreck-It Ralph. I don't think that Ralph or its sequel are movies that stand the test of time, like how Frozen or even Zootopia do from that exact same time period. I wouldn't even say it's on my list of favorite Disney films, but it doesn't have to be. Its themes about self-esteem and being content with who you are and where you're at in life resonated deeply, and it stuck with me. It helped motivate me at a time where I was feeling down and unaccomplished. In fact, I have to be honest about some feelings of fear that I've had in recent times that have kept me from making more videos on this channel. Longtime viewers will probably recognize that the background here has changed, and that's because I had to downsize and move to somewhere different. And I didn't really want to talk about that. I was really afraid of being judged, and it wasn't necessarily a move I wanted to make. And because of that, I just wasn't proud of where I was at, and I didn't really want to show it. That might sound silly because I've more than overthought this, but it's happened to me before. Everything Everywhere All at Once was a movie I saw at a time when I struggled to find who I was. Since 2020, I have had several friends and family members pass away. I got divorced, and I moved to California living alone. Through all of the changes, I felt a bit lost in life. Like Wreck-It Ralph, Everything Everywhere All at Once showed that wherever we are in life is okay, and to find contentment in those moments. Often we seek out feelings of joy and happiness as motivation, but it's also alright to just exist and be okay. It isn't a glamorous message, but it was one that I needed. Furthermore, I saw myself in the character of Waymond. He showcased perseverance through kindness rather than shutting out the world, which is something I worried I was going to do. He tackled the toughest parts of life with a good heart, and that's what I wanted for myself. When I see Waymond, I see me. Parts of me I could never put to words that were being reflected back at me. I saw a path forward from the problem I had.
I told the other version of me that I didn't want to go to a therapist. It wasn't that I blew it off, but I just felt kind of vulnerable and afraid.
I mean, I get that. I feel like we all have those feelings.
The other me keeps talking about how he watches movies and it feels like therapy to him. I just wish something resonated like that with me.
I mean, have you seen anything that you've connected with recently?
I mean, I like The Substance, you know? Maybe I should think about that movie. Maybe I need to start doing drugs and then I'll get younger and sexier. And maybe in that way, women will want to date me.
If Ralph had been a reminder to take care of my own self-esteem in the 2010s, movies like Everything Everywhere, or even films like The Wild Robot, were the reminders and mind shift changes I needed to see on screen a decade later in the 2020s. This goes along with me saying earlier that cinema therapy is not just the one solution. It's not like you can sit down and watch a movie for 2 hours and then you're completely cured. I'm not even cured. But I've spent a lot of time talking to a therapist, or times confiding with friends, or me making these videos with Joe and Jack and a dumb puppet.
He's not talking about me, is he? He's talking about me?
All of these things have been extremely helpful for me, but I do always come back to movies. A, because they're accessible and I enjoy watching them, but B, it does give me a way to express my emotions when I don't have the words to express them. While I do deal with the current version of myself in the mirror, I get to see what the future version of me can be like on screen. And while the path may not be visible, the goal does become much clearer. A 2-hour time limit is a good bite-sized way to do all of this too, but if you're looking for a different alternative, television can provide the same type of cinema therapy. Whether it's a sitcom or a drama, seeing yourself in characters on TV allows you to dig a little bit deeper. While we all aren't looking to be part of The Walking Dead anytime soon, at least I hope not, maybe you see yourself in the quirkiness of Jess from New Girl, or maybe you're reconciling with how you've treated people and see yourself in Eleanor on The Good Place. Maybe you see yourself as a misfit looking for their place like the cast in Stranger Things. What's actually really interesting about television is that while you can find deep meaning in adult dramas and comedies, there's actually a lot of evidence in kids shows like Sesame Street that showcase the same type of emotional needs. But it's teaching kids how to handle those emotions early in life rather than needing to cope with them later. Yeah, Sesame Street teaches kids how to count and say the alphabet, but it's been a show that teaches children how to handle emotions, both big and small. I know it's a bit of a meme these days, but Elmo doesn't like Rocco. But in the show, it's a way of teaching kids about jealousy and how to handle it.
I guess Rocco will never be able to float.
Oh, well, too bad. Bye, Rocco.
There's a ton of great shows that both parents and kids can watch separately or together. So for more on that, here's the resident parent, Joe, with a segment that we like to call Adjacent.
So, small children are a lot like adults when it comes to using media to better understand themselves and their world. Take my little guy, for example. He likes to use his favorite shows to realize something true about himself, that maybe he's actually Spider-Man. Or he likes to use his favorite shows to realize that maybe he's also really a T-Rex. Or maybe even a combination of a Spider-Rex. He realizes that that's who he is at his core. And he comes to understand through watching his shows that maybe he has strong feelings that Daddy needs to be webbed, or clawed. But as much as he likes dinosaurs and superheroes, all of his favorite characters have in common is that they are little kids. Even in Spider-Man, his favorite version is from Spidey and His Amazing Friends, where Peter Parker is kind of more of like an elementary school age kid. Just like adults, kids want to see characters that they can identify with. Also, like adults, they like to use media to process their feelings and gain insights about themselves. Shows like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood are fantastic early examples of kid shows where they would talk about their emotions and how to process negative feelings. Not every kid has someone at home who can talk to about their feelings, and even if they do, these shows and many others that follow in their footsteps excel at taking big concepts and simplifying them down for a younger audience. Great children's shows have the ability to universalize situations and experiences, reflecting back to kids their own realities, so they don't feel like they're the only one going through it. Shows like Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood and Arthur show children characters that are having the same struggles and wants that they do, helping them normalize and process their world a little bit better by seeing it reflected back in their favorite shows. A particular favorite of mine right now is Bluey. Look, I don't care how old you are, if you have kids at home, you should be watching Bluey. In a couple of the videos we've done, we've talked about how Pixar does a fantastic job of making movies for adults first that are also really entertaining for children. Well, Bluey has done that flawlessly for over 150 episodes, packing more humor, heart, and character into every 8-minute episode than most full-length movies. Bluey simultaneously is a fantastic and clever show about parenting for parents, and a brilliant kid show centered around the ideas of imagination and play. Bluey is an excellent contender for cinema therapy, and personally I'm a huge fan.
Thanks, Joe. You really showed up with your fatherly instincts today. Also, I should probably watch more Bluey, but once you start seeing movies and television this way, it's hard not to see the deeper meaning in all of it. That's not to say that I don't love a good meaningless action movie in order to zone out and just disconnect and escape life. I love sitting down and watching a classic comedy just to have a good laugh. Those types of movies can also feel cathartic in a way, but I tend to always come back to these ideas of watching movies that have emotional context where I can connect to the humanity of their characters. Once you start looking for it and finding it, it becomes a bit rewarding. And in fact, I love sharing that with my friends and family. A few years ago during Christmas, I showed my dad Everything Everywhere All at Once, because despite how absolutely bonkers it is, I felt like he'd enjoy the message behind it, like I had. And while it didn't resonate with him, I hope that maybe he understands me a bit more, or that it lingered with him long enough that he wondered why I even showed it to him. Speaking of understanding people, I wonder how the past version of me is doing with dating.
Alright, so what you're saying is that I shouldn't bring up anything about traveling through time.
I mean, I feel like goals, aspirations, maybe hobbies are good dating profile terms. I kind of feel like time traveling's a good, third date topic.
Should I even say anything about not having a job or, my own home?
I feel like it'd probably be best if we just stuck to something simple, like favorite movie or something.
Okay, well, I mean, I could probably talk about how my favorite food is spaghetti and I like animals.
Okay, now we're getting there. I like that, but how, do we have pictures? Maybe I should take a picture of you real quick.
Yeah. Okay, down here. Let's just do it.
Alright, hold still. It's perfect.
Again, I struggle with being open. I know I'm not alone in that. A lot of people do struggle with that. And their version of art therapy might be painting, or sitting down to read a book, or writing in a journal. For me, it's watching movies and making movies, or whatever you want to call this. Sitting down and talking to a camera is something that I've found to be a bit therapeutic, and while you've been watching this, you've served as both my therapist and maybe somebody who's gotten a bit of cinema therapy. Maybe not. That's not the whole point of this. The real intention in this video is to showcase why films and art in general are so important to us. and how we can grow from them rather than mindlessly view them to escape reality. I know that entertainment is often viewed as escapism, but that's not giving it the credit it deserves. I gave plenty of personal examples, but you might have a completely different set of films that resonate with you. Emotional intelligence and self-awareness are important. Movies are a great way to show that. It's why I recommend movies like Wreck-It Ralph or Everything Everywhere All at Once to people. It's why I've rewatched those films multiple times. There are times where I sit down to make a video to talk about the history of movies or create some kind of analytical view about the technical aspects. And yes, I love cinematography and costuming and music and how it's all put together. But at the end of the day, the reason I love movies is because of the emotional connection I have with them. I love movies that make me laugh and cry and feel because they resonate with me. While superhero movies are fun and can showcase good, so can movies like Paddington, because they're the type of movie that...
Hey Josh, sorry, know you're filming a video. Do you think we could talk about some movies real quick?
I never get to talk about Paddington. How'd you know I was filming right now, Jack?
Oh, yeah, Other Universe Josh told me that you were making a video about therapy movies, and I just wanted to tell you about my favorite therapy movie, Almost Famous. You know, that Cameron Crowe 2000 hit film with that classic soundtrack? Anyways, I really love that movie because it makes me feel like, as an artist and as somebody who stays off drugs, that all I have to do is stay close to myself, and then that's what's gonna allow me to continue to be the best person that I possibly can be in life.
Okay, yeah, that's great, man. But I'm finishing up, so can I just have a moment real quick?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Also, Other Universe Josh got his first date, so okay, bye!
Already? It was fast. Anyways, I know this video started with me talking about Wreck-It Ralph, and how it's a movie that feels compelling because it told a story that many people have connected with. Disney has genuinely been great at telling those types of stories for a century. I know there's always a bit of drama online around Disney as a company, the franchises they've bought, and whether or not they're making good movies or not. I'm looking at you, Star Wars fans. But the thing is, art, films, music, television, what's good is subjective. We can talk all day about what films make money and which ones don't. We can talk about how a movie should have used better editing techniques or written a character differently. Those things do matter, but the most important thing about art is that you connect with it. Maybe it challenges you to be a better person. Maybe it shows you something you've not been able to put into words. Whatever resonates with you, Cinema Therapy showcases that movies are a personal journey, helping us discover who we are as people. Whether that's learning emotional intelligence at a young age thanks to shows like Bluey, or someone who suffers from self-image issues, trying to find their place in the world while watching Wreck-It Ralph. That's me. And sometimes I'm still trying to find my place. But that's okay. I'm excited to meet you too. Can't wait for our first date. Send.
Yo, wait. Are you sure you're ready to jump into the deep end?
Yeah. I think I'm ready. In fact, I think I'm in love. Hi everybody, video editor Josh here. Just please be nice, this was a really vulnerable video for me to make, but if you love this style of video with all the characters and the narrative bits, check out the playlist down below because that's where season 2 starts, and you can watch all those videos here. I love you, thank you, and take care everybody. Bye.